Hey everyone, Corey Andrew Powell here of the Core Issues podcast and also the Naughty But Nice with Rob podcast as well. And this morning, I had the pleasure of joining News Nation to do a segment on the life of Rob Reiner. Of course, we all woke to the news this morning that Rob and his wife, Rob Reiner, and his wife, Michele Reiner, were found dead in their Los Angeles home this Sunday, basically yesterday. And there was a responding call at a medical call about 3:30 p.m. And that's when both the bodies were discovered by the Los Angeles PD. So I had a chance to go and talk about not that part of the situation, but more about celebrating Rob Reiner's life and career in Hollywood. So as a director, of course, many people are realizing now how prolific he was because of all the amazing films that he directed that were sort of like the biggest films in Hollywood in recent years, including his first, I guess, big cult classic, which is This Is Spinal Tap. But he did Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, of course, where he gave his own mother the best line in the film in the orgasm scene in the restaurant. When Meg Ryan is having that moment and the woman in the background just has that dead delivery and says, I'll have what she's having. So many people don't know that was Rob Reiner's mother. He gave his mom the best line in the film. But he did the movie Misery, A Few Good Men. I mean, to this day, people still yell lines from that movie, including "You can't handle the truth." So it's just, my goodness. I mean, hit after hit after hit. And of course, he was part of the alumni as well. If you think about it, with people like Penny Marshall and Ron Howard, they're from the same television era as actors, and they went on to become some of the biggest directors in Hollywood and made the biggest hits in probably the last, I would say, 3 decades, maybe, in Hollywood. So tremendous loss. But people also don't know about his activism, and that's a really big, important part of what he did as well. So beyond Hollywood, Reiner was a longtime political activist using his profile to champion causes, including early childhood education, healthcare initiatives, marriage equality, women's healthcare and reproductive rights. And he even co-founded the American Foundation for Equal Rights, which played a significant role in that fight for same-sex marriage rights. So my goodness, he was beyond Hollywood. He was a humanitarian, not just in America, but also with global issue concerns. So he had a documentary about his advocacy as well. And he just really was a public policy advocate overall for social issues. So that's a huge loss to the world, not just about Hollywood, but about the humanitarian aspect of the world in general. That's a tremendous loss on the world stage. But I want to put a little human context, of course, to what happened to him, because there's a lot of speculation that his son is responsible for this homicide. Now, People Magazine claims that they got an exclusive source that told them that the son was guilty of this crime. Now, at the time that I'm reporting this story to you right now, that was not official. Maybe by the time I post this video, it may have been revealed that's either the truth or not. So I don't know. But at this time, as far as I know, that is not an official statement. That's just a source, unnamed, that told People Magazine that their son may be responsible for this. We do know the police is questioning the son, of course, and as a person of interest, but that is not strange because that's typically what happens when someone is involved in a homicide. It's the family, the people closest to them, who get interviewed. So that's not really out of the ordinary. But in the past, Nick Reiner, who is Rob Reiner's son, 32 years old, he had spoken a lot in the past about his own struggles with addiction, periods of homelessness. And there's some speculation, I'm not sure how true it is, that he may also be, he may also be schizophrenic. And so there's a lot of talk in social media, a lot of chatter on social media. I'm calling him a spoiled rich kid and a drug addict, and mocking him for having been someone who threw away such opportunities because he came from privilege. But I want to put a little bit more of a human, a little bit more of a human spin on that, if in fact he is schizophrenic, because That is a very debilitating psychological disorder. And anyone who's familiar with it or has it in their family can especially tell you it's a volatile situation with the person with that disease, especially um, when they are prescribed medication, let's say, and they don't take their medication. They can have extreme bouts with psychosis, hallucinations, things that seem absolutely real. And it's not uncommon for them in a psychotic episode to harm their own family members or loved ones if they're not being treated. So, again, this is speculation. We don't know if that is what's going on with Nick Reiner. But there is some talk that he may be schizophrenic as well. And that would put a different context to the story. As far as his addiction, though, and his homelessness in the past, it actually inspired an autobiographical film called Being Charlie that some of you guys may be familiar with. And it was like a personal detail of his own life told in the story. And it's important just to contextualize it again that he was, in many ways, trying to get help and work out his demons, if you will. But we don't know how any of that really played into the situation and if he is even the culprit who is responsible. But authorities will continue their investigation. And, again, nothing's confirmed as of yet. That may change quickly. So it's an evolving news story. The details may change as police release official statements. So, at this time, we just don't know. So it's really more about now for me, just remembering Rob Reiner, remembering how he began as meathead on All in the Family. Those of us of a certain age will remember All in the Family and will know him as the person who would always go head to head with a very bigoted Archie Bunker. He was often the voice of reason against an unreasonable Archie Bunker. He was often the voice of justice and inclusion when Archie was at his most bigoted on the show. And that dynamic was so powerful that it actually garnered a few awards for Rob Reiner playing that character on All in the Family as Mike Meathead Stivic, one of the best characters in TV. So, sad story. Just wanted to share my perspective on it. It reminds me almost of when I did a report similarly to when Gene Hackman and his wife were found dead. Of course, homicide was suspected in that case too, but we found out obviously later that that was not the case. In this case, Rob Reiner and his wife, multiple stab wounds on the bodies. Homicide is what is being likely the case of how these two met their demise. But more story on that later, I guess, as it unfolds. Let's remember Rob Reiner for his wonderful work and his legacy. And may they both rest in peace. Thanks.